Today is October 25th, and this is Sports Talk with Reuben. Hey, what's up, everybody? Today I want to talk about a couple of subjects here, and the first subject that I want to talk about is this whole Lebron James thing, where people are doubting he's going to be able to play at a high level. Now, let's get right into it, okay? Like, we won the first game of the season against the Phoenix Suns, and everybody says, well, Phoenix is not going to be that good. Phoenix is not a great, team. Yes, I understand all that. However, one of the things that I'm noticing, and this is kind of like a secret, or this is maybe something that a lot of people don't talk about in the media or in basketball circles, is minutes played, right? But more importantly, the minutes played thing is, that's a huge stat, right? Everybody keeps track of that stat. Everybody looks at how many minutes a player plays, and that kind of determines their longevity, so forth and so on. But what the people are not doing, and this is what's an interesting thing, is what people are not doing is, let's look at how many minutes they practice. There was Walton, the head coach of the Lakers. He had said something that was really interesting to me. And what he said was, well, basically LeBron James didn't practice one game. I mean, one day he didn't practice at all. He just kind of took notes, sat there, watched what everybody was doing, and he was kind of being like a coach, right? And so, which was fine, because obviously LeBron James is LeBron James. But one of the observations I took from that is, if you look at it, let's look at how many minutes you practice and how many minutes you play in the game. So if you averaged 30 minutes a game and you played all 82 games, that's 2,400 plus minutes, right? But how many minutes did you practice, right? Are they even keeping track of that statistic internally with these basketball organizations? Are they saying, LeBron James, you practiced 600 minutes this week, we need to limit your practice minutes? And what is the ratio of wear out practice minutes versus playing minutes? I mean, I think that's something that doesn't get brought up. And I was watching, Fox Sports, Colin Cowherd and Undisputed, and they touched on this a little bit, but I like this idea of knowing how many minutes a team practices, how many minutes a player practices, and how many minutes are they required to practice. I mean, when a player is practicing, you're logging in all those physical exertion minutes, right? You're getting in shape. All that stuff's important and it's pertinent, but during the season, how do you do that? How do you manage that? And are those statistics being kept? Like, Vince Carter's got 21 years in the league. LeBron James got 16 years in the league, but he essentially has like another season due to all the playoff games he's played, because he's been in the playoffs 8 years in a row. He's been in the finals 8 years in a row. So how many playoff games has he done? So that aspect of minutes played, I think, is only one piece of this whole puzzle, right? So when you look at LeBron James playing, you look at, him averaging 28, 35, 33 minutes a game. They also touched about limiting his minutes this year. But what I think is more important is the fact that they're going to limit his practices. His practice minutes, I think, are going to be greatly diminished as he goes on in his career. And I think that's going to allow him to stretch out his career even further. So I think that they've kind of figured something out like that, in the sense that LeBron James is being put in a position where, he's getting paid $38 million a year. He has a max contract. And, he's going to be asked to play more and more and more and more. But the key is, LeBron James played 28 minutes in the win. He got everybody else involved. On the other sports shows, they talk about pace. This goes to what I'm talking about, where the second team, and I mentioned this in another show, where I said that they're going to try to make a strong second team, and that's how you beat a team like the Golden State Warriors. You can't beat the Golden State Warriors on pure shooting power. Did you see what Steph Curry did? He scored 51 points in 31 minutes. It's going to be very difficult to beat a guy like that. I mean, that's going to be very, very hard. I mean, you're not going to overshoot the Golden State Warriors, right? I also talked about injuries. James Harden is already having issues with his hamstring. He says it's not going to be an issue, but it's an issue. So the Houston Rockets are going to be plagued by injuries this year. CP3 gets hurt. Carmelo Anthony is older. He's not in the best physical condition in relative speaking to an athlete. Obviously, he's in better physical condition than any normal person walking around. But in terms of basketball shape, and I think that's going to weigh in huge. So if one of the top two teams are Houston and let's just say Golden State, the way to beat Golden State, Houston did it. Houston did it last year, where they relied on their second unit. So I think that's the blueprint to beat a team like Golden State. So you're not going to outshoot those guys. You got Kevin Durant, you got Steph Curry, you got just all the weapons there, right? You got Draymond Green, who could be Defensive Player of the Year and get you a triple-double. So that being said, getting back to the point of this whole LeBron thing, he played 28 minutes. He got everybody else involved. Everybody else is shooting. Everybody says that Lonzo Ball can't play with LeBron James, and you look at it, and they can. A person or a player at LeBron James's caliber, I keep on saying, it's not that he doesn't want to play with somebody or he wants to play with somebody. That's irrelevant at his level. At his level, he can play with anybody. His ability to adapt, it's above everybody else, And then when you hear, when you go in the press conferences, right, and you hear the people talk, the press conferences, it's all LeBron taking all the heat. It's all LeBron taking all the questions. It's all LeBron, responding to criticism. And I spoke on that too, is that he's going to be the perfect person to take all that criticism and to be able to take it and spin it and respond to it. And it's not going to make him crack. It's not going to make him crumble. It's not going to weigh on him. He's somebody that has dealt with this for years. For 15 years, he's dealt with this, right? So you're not gonna have a guy that's gonna say, he's not gonna explode on the media. He's not gonna let them have it. He's not gonna get out of character. He's done this too many years where LeBron James's ability, these behind the scenes things are coming to surface as to how you're gonna make a team good. So that's why I said the Lakers going 55 to 60 games. That's why I keep on saying that. Because at the beginning, they're going to have these little bumps in the road. Obviously, this thing with Rondo and Ingram getting suspended is not a good thing. But it did give us the opportunity to let Lonzo Ball show what he can do. And that's what you needed, right? Somebody's got to be in the second unit, and somebody's going to be strong in the first unit. Again, LeBron James is the field general. Rondo is going to be there when LeBron takes a breather. Lonzo Ball is going to be there when they both take a breather. If one of the three is not on point, there's always going to be one person that's going to be firing on all cylinders. And LeBron being the oldest, he's going to be the first person to take a break. Everybody talked about how it's not going to work. They're too young. LeBron James doesn't like playing with young players, and all that stuff is not even being talked about now. I like how they spun that narrative where they said that LeBron James can't do this. He doesn't like to play with players. I don't think he actually cares. I don't think it matters. I think he's at such a level that he doesn't, it's kind of irrelevant as to how or who he plays with. Look at what happened. Look at, the first couple games. Yeah, they were 0-3. Everybody says, whoa, this is what we're talking about. LeBron James doesn't like to play with these people, so forth and so on. I get all that, right? But then when you look at it, it's going to settle down. I knew it was going to settle down, right? Now you're going to have to start beating the teams that you're going to have to beat the teams that you're supposed to beat, right? Yeah, the teams that are good, yeah, it's going to be hard to beat Golden State. Nobody's saying that you're going to beat them all the time, but you got to start beating teams that you're supposed to beat and giving a good match to the people that are kind of like on your level. 55, 60 wins. I guarantee you Houston's not going to win that many games this year. I guarantee you that. Golden State is not going to win that many games this year. You know why? Because Golden State wants to make it to the finals, and their guys are wearing out. Their guys are getting old. They don't have, for some reason, this LeBron fountain of youth is based on how many minutes he practices. Let's hear some guys. Let's hear Colin Cowherd. They need to ask that question. How many minutes do you practice? How many minutes do you allot for that, and do you reduce that number so you can keep your playing minutes up, right? He doesn't need practice no more. He doesn't need to say, let's figure this out. He can do that mentally. He can do that intellectually with these players. He can make them gel together intellectually. Physically, it's going to be there. That's how you stretch his career out. Everybody says, oh, he can't play. He has too many miles on his legs. That's not true. Because of the fact that he's probably taken that into account. His playing minutes are up. I guarantee you, from the first 5 years to the second 5 years to his third 5 years, years 1 through 5, 5 through 10, and 10 through 15, I guarantee you the amount of practice time that these guys are playing, it's a huge. I mean, the amount of practice time that he's putting in is huge. The practice time. Let's talk about that. How many minutes is he practicing at the Lakers facility where he's physically running up, where he's physically burning out his legs, right? We're 5 games in. We're in the 5th game. We're going to play Denver. They're undefeated. I have a feeling we're not going to rout them, but I think we're going to beat them handily. And we don't have Ingram, which is an integral part or piece of the puzzle. But again, LeBron James is going to extend his career by playing with all these young guys, right? Supposedly the pace is unprecedented. These guys are running up and down. That's what you do with youth. You're not going to slow the game down with youth. You got these young bucks running up and down. You keep going. You don't stop. You push the pace. The whole point is you got to get the old man tired. The old man, Kevin Durant, he's going to spot you up all day. You know what I mean? If you try to play chess with that dude, you're done. You got to just outwork him. You got to out-hustle him. Because eventually, as the season goes on, the older players do get tired. Fatigue is a factor, right? And everybody says, what about LeBron James? Well, he's obviously figured that out. You just don't practice as much. And I guarantee you, as the season goes on and more older players are figuring this out, you're going to see a lot of older players being able to stay longer in the league so that you can get the second max contract, right? LeBron James on his 15th year, I guarantee you nobody's gotten a contract that big in his 15th, 16th, 17th, whatever year. So that being said, LeBron James is doing a good thing, So let's look at this other part of the NBA where I want to kind of turn it around. Where have you seen how good Trae Young is? If they put a couple good pieces around Trae Young and they get some good coaching there, and they develop a culture of winning, that guy looks like he already's been in the NBA for a couple years. How are you going to compete with somebody like Trae Young? I don't like how they do comparisons because I don't think that's a fair thing. But Trae Young looks like the future of the NBA, and it's just the way he carries himself, the way he plays. You can see the confidence in his style. And the moves, man, he puts them, dude. Whew, forget it, dude. You ain't defending that. That guy's gonna get to a point where he can score. He's you're gonna be putting him in the ranks of Kyrie Irving and whatnot. And Steph Curry. Furthermore, Steph Curry dumped 51 in 31 minutes. You see the way he was doing it? How many minutes is he playing? 31 minutes. LeBron James played 28 minutes and Steph Curry played 31 minutes, and they're the cornerstones of their franchises, and they didn't even play the whole game, right? That's what we're getting to. They're figuring it out. Steph Curry has had injuries. Steph Curry has missed some games. They're not going to try to win 60 games. Remember, Magic Johnson is the only player, the only marquee high-profile player to lead his team to 4 consecutive 60-win seasons. Look it up. You ain't going to find a team that's been able to do it. You know how hard that is to do? It's never been done. Right? Now, you can average 60 wins in a season. San Antonio's made the playoffs for 20 years in a row. But to actually have 60 wins in 4 consecutive years, you're doing something, right? You're doing something, right? So if you want to get on that Magic Johnson level, you got to be consistent to the 20th power. Magic Johnson did it for 4 years. Nobody's been able to do it. Look it up. Do your research. The Boston teams, nope. 60 wins, nope. And they only had like 6 teams in the league back then, and they still couldn't do it. Right? Golden State, as great as they are, 73 wins. Yeah, they averaged like 68 wins a year, but they didn't have 60 wins. They couldn't keep it together. It's very difficult. So if you want to compare eras and teams and so forth and so on, no. Basketball, I think, the basketball is at a crossroads right now where they need to have a correction, because there's almost no defense being played. 140, 150 points a game. Something needs to be done. The pure shooting skill, the strategy of the game is just score more points, right? That's all it's becoming. Score more points. Yeah, that's fine. Okay. But we're not seeing anybody playing defense, getting true stops. I would suspect that everybody's going to average 100 points a game. Every team is going to give up 100 points a game. That's just the way it's going to be. You're going to have your few teams that are going to win a bunch of games, your Celtics, which, by the way, again, Toronto is beating them. Toronto is undefeated. Ain't nobody thought that, right? Well, Kawhi Leonard's Defensive Player of the Year badge didn't go away in San Antonio. He took it to Toronto and said, let me go and lock everybody down over here. Right? Kawhi Leonard's showing everybody, look it, dude, I'm the real deal. I come here to play. When I got traded, when nobody wanted to pick me up, I'm going to show everybody how you messed up. I'm going to show the whole Eastern Conference, you ain't going to make nothing. We might make Toronto might be in the play. It might be in the finals. It's going to be hard to beat them. San Antonio had Golden State down before he got hurt a couple years ago. Right before all this started, where it eventually led to him being traded, right? Quality player. You let him go. NBA basketball is interesting. There's a ton of stories in there. A lot of people talk about how, LeBron James is. Again, dude, I'll go to this again and again. I keep on talking about this, how he is the most consumable news in NBA basketball, and he's the most, he's the best news bites because he's consumable. Every single advertiser wants to be attached to a LeBron James story, because not only is it easy to be attached to, you're not going to worry about controversy, and everybody wants to be part of it. These advertisers spend billions of dollars on attaching themselves to LeBron James articles, and he doesn't get a penny from that. I would suspect $1 billion a year just on how many ad dollars are spent on attaching themselves to LeBron James sound bites or stories, because he's got a squeaky clean, because he's got it all together. So you can do that. He's advertisable, right? That's why he demands such a high dollar. He makes way more money outside of basketball, outside of his basketball salary. That's a tremendous thing, dude. He's a complete entertainer, because you're getting the ad dollars from everywhere. That's why that's all they talk about. That's why I bring it up. That's why everybody talks about it. The reason why they talk about it is because it's how it's good for business for anybody. You tell me who doesn't want to advertise with LeBron James? His price is probably too high, but who doesn't want to advertise with the family man who built a $50 million school? Yeah. I want my business aligned to him. I want people to be part. I want people. I'm selling mattresses. I want to sell the LeBron mattress. Why? Because people will buy it. Because he's an international superstar, and that's what's interesting about him, is he takes all that with a grain of salt, and he's obviously figured out, his team has helped him, along the way, because he didn't have any he didn't have a silver spoon in his mouth. Nobody taught him how to do this. He had to learn on the fly. His team helped him. His team is top notch, dude. So you got to look at that. So that that's a huge factor. That's why his minutes. That's why he can play longer. Obviously he spends a lot of money on his body, but it has to do with How do you stretch your career out? Ask Tom Brady, 41 years old, dominating the NBA, the NFL, right? LeBron James is doing the same thing. He probably has those TB12 books, teaching you to eat, shoelaces and kale shakes every single day. Whatever it is, it's working. But I would suspect that it starts with minutes played in practice. How many arduous minutes are you practicing per week? And I guarantee you that number is quantified, and I guarantee you that they are monitoring that. Why wouldn't you? This highly bankable player that came to LA, you got to keep the money flowing. Basketball, it's an entertainment. It's entertainment. It's a sport. You got to make money off of it. Why are you not doing that? Oh, well, they are, right? They're going to play Denver today. They're 4-0. Denver's 4-0. The Lakers are 1-3. I like our chances. I really like our chances. So that being said, I think the NBA, there's so many storylines. That's what makes it so interesting. This whole thing with CP3 in Houston about how everybody says he's a horrible teammate, but I think he was a union rep. Is it because he didn't fight enough for the union? Is there some of those undertones? Who knows? But everybody badmouths CP3 as being a bad teammate, but he's super good. Super competitive. He's got to do, like, his PR team's got to get him an interview on the Joe Rogan podcast or something. He needs to come on a show somewhere and do something, because I think that there's something there that maybe he's being kind of dogged out, or maybe, there's something to all that. So that being said, this is the segment here for sports. I want to talk a little bit about college football. College football, right? College football. It's been on my mind a lot ever since, I'm biased, I'm a USC fan, but I had also talked about this being, the West Coast is not, if you look at it, they're really not focusing too much on college football, because there's so many professional football teams over here, right? And there's so much stuff going on the West Coast that it seems like unless the Trojans are really, really good, that it doesn't get pushed that much. And I also think too, because Alabama's so good, I think everybody's kind of like, nobody's really thinking that Alabama's going to get challenged. Yeah, they might lose the game by accident because they get tired of scoring 62 to 7 or 10 every single game. But they're, college football, I'm not a huge fan of it right now, because it doesn't seem very interesting. It doesn't seem like it's so lopsided. It's so top heavy. The top 10 teams are going to stay top 10 forever. Nobody has a chance, and they're all East Coast teams, Midwest or East Coast teams. It's not because the talent's not on the West Coast. A lot of players from the West Coast go to the East Coast, right? A lot of them do. That's a huge thing, where a lot of players get recruited from the East Coast. A lot of teams from the East Coast come to the West Coast, because I think it's something like 50% of the blue chip players, or some ridiculous number. I don't know the exact number, but it's a huge number of the blue chip players that are coming from California. There's a lot of players. Obviously, there's a lot of people here too, but Texas is a very popular place. But I'm talking about the West Coast. There's a lot of high-level players that are just leaving the state, and I get it. You go play in Alabama, you're going to be on TV every single day, and that's the only show, period. You come over here, I could go to a USC game unless they're ranked 1, or I could just go watch, 3 football teams, 4 football teams on the West Coast play football the next day. Where am I going to spend my dollars at? Saturday or Sunday? It's hard to tell. It's, who knows? So I just think that college football, they're missing the boat. They're missing the boat. Why is it that, yeah, ESPN pays them a lot of money to broadcast a lot of the games. And it is expirable content, right? It's live content that expires. Nobody's gonna binge watch the whole 2017 Alabama season. It doesn't happen that way. There's no mechanism for that, right? So what happens? These games expire, they go away, but it's keeping cable TV alive. You know, that's the word on the street, is that cable TV is surviving because of because of sports programming. As the sports programming navigates to streaming, it's going to be evident what kind of impact that the streaming stuff is having, right? Because they've already, like Netflix, Hulu, Amazon, HBO, there's about 5 or 6 other ones. You know, Mixed Martial Arts has that DAZN and ESPN Plus. You know, there's a lot of programming that is leaving traditional cable, and it seemed like MMA was the first ones to really embrace the streaming stuff. And boxing is getting on board with it, because the zone and UFC's talking about doing boxing. It seems like they're jumping ship too. You know, HBO ending their relationship with boxing after 45 years is obviously a huge setback for traditional cable TV. You know, they're probably going to do the pay-per-views, but even that's going to go away. You know, reportedly the Canelo fight, you pay your $10 a month and you can see that giant pay-per-view. They gave him $385 million, over 11 fights. That's great, dude. That shows you that these investors don't know what they're doing. It's going to take more than Canelo to get people to jump on board of that DAZN platform. Because Canelo could just, if Canelo loses a couple fights in a row, that $385 million investment, you're not going to get your return on investment. I guarantee you that. He loses a couple fights, he tests dirty again, forget about it. You could forget about recouping that, $250 million that you gave to this guy. You got to assume that his camp is not going to pull no shenanigans if he loses again. He did well. And it's funny because, think about this, dude. Right? Realistically, if he lost that fight to Triple G, was Triple G going to get that? Was Triple G going to get that $385 million 11-fight contract? No, the answer is no. Triple G's too old. Triple G's 36 years old. So the question was, would Canelo have still got that contract if he would have lost? I don't know. I think he would have still got that contract because he's a draw, because people still want to see him fight even though he lost, as evident by the Conor McGregor thing. He lost, but everybody wants to see him fight again. And you can't blame him. You can't blame people because he's entertaining. And he took his lumps and he got beat up. And he took the L. But I like how he recovers in the media where he tells people, I took my lumps, it was a good fight. And now the first time ever, he's conceding that Khabib might not be his next opponent. There's some good quality opponents there, and if he wants a super fight, there's a bunch of super fights to be had, right? George St. Pierre, that's not going to happen. George St. Pierre's too out there. He wants $1 trillion. There's only one person that gets all the money. There's only one A side and one B side. I can see Conor fighting Mayweather again. Yeah, that seems more realistic than George St. Pierre coming out of the woodworks and, escaping from his gymnastics gym and going to go fight again. He kind of killed his own momentum by giving up the belt and doing some crazy stuff where he's like, yeah, I won the belt, but I don't want to do this no more, because he realized that the 185 fighters nowadays, he can't compete with that size. So what is he going to do? So why did he even, to me, that's a huge misstep, the way he did it. And then he went to the opposite, talking about he's going to fight at 155. That's never going to happen, dude. You're going to fight Conor McGregor at 155, you're going to look like a stray skeleton, homeboy. George St. Pierre fights at 155, that's going to be Skeletor versus He-Man right there. The Irish He-Man versus Skeletor himself. What is that fight song going to look like when he comes out? Puff the Magic Dragon? That guy going to have to be on some drugs to be able to walk out there, because he's going to be so skinny. So anyways, that being said, UFC is very interesting. A lot of people are still pulling out of fights, these UFC things. People get, it almost seems like these guys are upset because they're not making the kind of money that Conor made. But you're not as interesting. You don't have a following, Go get you a whiskey. Go get you a shoe brand. Go get you a shoe deal. Go do something, dude. You can make so much money off this fame. Look what Connor did. He's probably going to make $1 billion off of his whiskey company. And kudos to him for doing that. How smart is that guy? How smart is his team? You know, and if you wanted to hear something interesting, go to listen to the Joe Rogan podcast where Joe interviews his head coach. And it's going to tell you how interesting and how smart his team is. Because if that guy, the way he talks, forget it, dude. He knows what he's talking about. You just listen to him talk, strategy, and you read in between the lines. That's why he's got a good team. I bet you everybody else is on board the same way. So that being said, you know, these UFC fighters, you know, they have a huge opportunity to kind of grow their fame. But if you're not taking advantage of it, then you're just going to be a fighter. You're just going to fizzle out. Eventually, everybody starts losing, okay? That's the boxing game. That's the fighting game. Nobody's going to end up on top. Mayweather is an anomaly. That doesn't always happen, dude. You know, he's going to eventually lose one of these fights. And he's going to say, well, you know, again, when I saw Mayweather talk on camera the other day, about a week or two ago, he started looking a little punch drunk. I don't think he should fight ever again anymore. You know, if he does, it better be one of these laydowns. You know, if he fights one, you know, I think he was a little jealous that Canelo got that 11-fight, $385 million fight deal. Nobody's been able to get that. That's a Mayweather type deal. Because I think Mayweather did one of those for Showtime where it was like a five fight deal, averaging $25 million a fight. Right? So, anyways, thanks for watching. You know, if you like the stuff I talked about, keep on watching. Subscribe if you choose to. You know, if you don't agree with me, put it on the comments. If you say, Reuben, you're completely wrong, you're completely off, hey, I get it. I'm with you on that. So to recap, the Lakers, the NBA, all the stories, minutes in practice. Let's talk about that, Colin Cowherd. Let's talk about that, Skip and Shannon. Nobody's bringing that up. How many minutes are you practicing a week? That's what I want to hear about. And then the state of college football. Alabama's number one. Nobody's even trying anymore. Everybody just gave up. Right? And then we talked about the state of the MMA. Right? So, anyways, thanks for watching. Talk to you guys later. Bye.